Monday, October 22nd, 2012, 4:02 a.m. I cannot sleep. I've been trying to sleep for about 2 hours now, and I can't. I just have a lot in my mind. A lot of negative stuff that I wish I could like meet somebody right now and just to kind of relax and I don't know, talk about it. So I figure I do this. And what's on my mind? Hmm. Well, about 2, 3 weeks ago, I met this guy at Starbucks. Um, and there's so many red flags through conversation, through speaking with him, and through observing him. Um, I don't know, it just kind of like rubs me the wrong way. I've come to the point that I don't really think I should talk with him anymore. And he said some very interesting things, but there's some very things. There's a few things that he said that are very, 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 very wrong. Um, he justified the need for the Italian mafia to come into America and do what they did in, was it the, I guess it was the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, I guess around that time. And I look at it and I think to myself, wow, take advantage of all the soldiers, take advantage of all the people, and violence, extortion. There's never a justification for violence. In self-defense, yes, but in this case, they were not in self-defense. They were strangers coming in here into this country, into this land. They're not entitled to anything. What else? There's this interesting, I guess, philosophy, like a philosophy proverb. I guess a story. There were two brothers born in the exact same day, twins, and they had the exact same lives, the exact same experiences, the exact same friends, the exact same everything. But when you take the two brothers and you drop one, if you were to imagine that you drop one of them, if you were to imagine the two brothers as glass, one of them drops and breaks into dust. Glass, you can grind glass into dust, and just the other one drops, and the only thing that's left is a sharp piece of glass that could be used as a weapon, a shard. And that's a very like fucked up thing to think about. I wanna find out like when he kind of came to that idea in his mind to at least believe in this idea, because we all choose individually in what we want to believe in. Somehow it seems it's much easier to just take all the good people and just start a whole new fucking country. But, I don't know. That's the thing that's more work to it, just easier to fix this country. Because it's fixable. I had this thing I wanted to write down. Um, it's something I'll have to use as a, I guess, a commercial. Well, two things. I sat in my bed and I looked at Plenty of Fish. And I have this application. It's an online dating website, and I messaged some girls. The light kind of makes it all, kind of gives it this like negative tone. Well, I guess I do have some negative things to share. But so I sat on the application. I messaged a few girls, and then an idea came to mind, like a slogan. Oleg's the name, government's the game. That's like a creative slogan. And the idea here is also not to work myself into some frenzied oblivion of just of some kind of morbid um, philosophy of rule and law, but also to try to have as much fun with it as possible. You have to enjoy uh, what you do, or at least what you want to do. You have to make the best of it, and attempting to capitalize on some fun from work is not necessarily a bad thing or something that should be frowned upon. And it's actually very effective when you examine what what the management techniques are in a company like Google or a company like Blizzard, a company like Facebook. They do some pretty serious stuff. I mean, considering that money in our society is a very serious thing, and they work around that, and from their minds, they generate a lot of money for these companies. And they're rewarded justly. Not just simply financially, but there's a lot of investment made to ensure their uh, personal growth, that they grow as individuals and that they grow as professionals. It's very important on a management level to think about and to find ways to ensure that the people you manage, that happens. And I'm trying to learn little by little as much as I can about these types of things. Because I would need to be a leader. That's a joke with the arm that is. But back to this guy, I'm not sure of his intentions. I mean, I think he has good intentions. But see, that's one of the problems. I mean, there's a problem with having good intentions. Because you could have fantastic, beautiful, positive intentions. But your methodology to accomplishing those intentions could be the worst thing possible. And Therefore, well, I think almost all the time, the result is always negative. And the case that I look at broadly is the case of Adolf Hitler. Initially, I believe he had very good intentions. Uh, for the first whatever time, but then quickly something happened where there was just a change in direction or a change in philosophy. And because of that, we need to have as many checks and balances, or at least this is the importance, like a case for making a system of checks and balances important, so that doesn't happen. So it's impossible for one person in government, whatever position, to, in a way, I guess, seize all of government. We have three different forms of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. And by having this little triangle, it's an idea to so one form of government doesn't get too powerful and dictate everything. I don't know if that could be made better anyway, though. I don't know if there's a way to make that better. Because the idea is to always be striving to make it better, everything better, the security better, the quality of life better, the I guess the quality of service. I hate to use this word, but there's just such there's been at some point there was a transition in government to provide service. Uh, it's just a mix. I don't know how to properly explain this yet, but there's people. Okay. Then there's the private sector, which generates collectively as this big engine opportunities for people. And then there's, I guess, the public sector, which is, you can break it down into two: government and nonprofit. And they rely on the private sector for funding. Nonprofit organization does not make any money. It relies on money from people donating to a nonprofit organization in some way, either by doing a fundraiser or just flat out donate money. And government exists on purely on the people, but at somehow, I mean, it was from the get-go. It relies on not just the government is dependent on the interests and the needs of the people, but it also relies on their income for taxation purposes. There's a little there's something icky with that. So I don't know. With that, there's something that could be practically. I don't know what. Probably not. It would then have to, for something like that, you would need the government to oversee the actual private sector and to manage it And if you do that, you hinder. Well, it depends. It's iffy. Because you look at a place like China, a country like China. It's a communist country, and the government of China controls all of business. In a way, it gives permits and it gives licenses, I guess, selectively. Not everybody, everybody here in the United States is able to open up whatever they want to open up, as long as they have the money. But in China, it might be a little bit more selective and a little bit more, hmm, like the government giving you permission, as opposed to here, you're not seeking permission or relying on anyone's permission. The only thing that's hindering you is yourself, and or, well, practically, realistically, money, but that also falls on your side, because you have many venues for, if you have no money for a business, you would need investment from somebody. Somebody is bound to have the money. It's just simply on you, on your part, on your side, to commit yourself to find people who are going to be willing to invest in whatever business idea you have. And looking at some of the more recent companies that came about, and well, not came about recently, but always, um, somebody with absolutely nothing, uh, able to create a fortune and business empire for themselves in the United States of America. Back to that guy a little bit. It seems like he would be the person who would, I don't know, just, I mean, these are just some thoughts I have, and I have to, I guess, trust myself, but, I don't know, just would simply attempt to manipulate somebody else, or to steer somebody into their own call, uh, brainwash somebody, I don't know, something along those lines. Maybe not. There's something odd, there's something suspicious about him, though. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in jail, though. He served time in prison. So maybe that could be it. I would think, there would be some sort of a natural discomfort from that. So that could be that. Or maybe he's trying to have sex with me. That could be that. Just another strange man. Because I think a lot of people, I might come off gullible to people because at first impression, I'm willing to hear whatever the person has to say, assuming I'm in a state of mind. I would listen, whatever, I'll listen to all of it. But later I'll come to the, the notion in my own time to kind of examine what was said. And I guess, yeah, just examine it. I don't think a lot of people do something like that. But the most important question I would have that leaves me stumped is this a person I could trust? Is there a lot of people that in the world that you can't trust? I can't trust. You can't trust. Others can't trust. No. I was speaking to somebody and they go, wow, well, like, if somebody offers you $10,000, you wouldn't make some kind of deal or something? I said, what, $10,000? No, not even a million. Like, maybe a billion, I don't know. I don't, but I would have like a system to how I would approach something like that. And he goes, oh, okay, so you are bought. You could be bought. And I was like, no, I didn't really mean that by saying that, because it's unrealistic for somebody to do that number. That's why I said it. Plus, it would be very interesting to kind of like go along with if somebody were to actually attempt to bribe me for $1 billion, to take to get them to go, I guess, go along with it. Put the $1 billion like, somehow like all together, it'd be a lot of money. I don't even know how it'd look like. To be honest with you, let alone $1 million. I wouldn't even know how to. There's some movies, there were pictures. I don't know, but and then I'll look at it, maybe take a photo of it, and then like right there and then, like just set it all on fire, and then see how this person would react. Uh, because the most reasonable, like I've given this some thought, the most reasonable way for me to react to somebody attempting to bribe me is like have like the first time it be a warning and maybe like a conversation about mm, kind of something along the lines of uh, you shouldn't do this anymore, and then the second time them trying to do it uh, would be with them already given the prior knowledge of that. At this point I will do what I can to have them arrested and charged for something like that, because that's serious. You can't do that kind of stuff. Maybe you could do that kind of stuff yesterday, maybe you can do that kind of stuff today, but tomorrow you're not allowed to do those kind of things anymore. And that might be tough. Um, like it's easy for me to say that, but it might be a lot tougher in real life um, to work on that kind of commitment. Not because um, the greed oh, I want this money. But the nature of a person who does that is uh, is not very polite. That's where security comes in play, how important it is to have security. I forgot to do that video that I wanted to do. I wanted to do one more video. I guess I'll do it tomorrow. Basically, at least I'll tell you what the video is right now. It's a video that's going to be addressed to everybody who is going to be on the ballot for me to vote on. And I'm going to create this video and I'm going to address some people one by one and tell them, ask them a simple question. How do they know what they need to know, what they need to do if they've never asked me? How is it that somebody in government knows what the interests and the needs are of the people if they've never asked them? And that's my question. And it's an easy question to ask to the president or a candidate for a president because they actually have the financial resources to be able to do that. Yeah, it's unrealistic for them to actually come into my home and ask me, because then they would be doing that to 330 million other people in the United States of America. But it's reasonable for them to send me an intern, a volunteer, an intern, or a paid worker to sit with me and to ask me that question. What are my what do I need and what are my interests? So they know what needs to be done, because that's how the system is supposed to work. But it's not working that way. And I don't expect a reply from everybody, but I think that some people I would get a reply for. And I think what they would tell me is, well, you have to tell me. And then I go, and then my answer to that is, I have to tell you, you're the one who wants this position. You're the one running for this position. Not to mention, it's the 21st century. I don't have the time to reach out to you. You have the time to reach out to me, because this is your job. Can you imagine a business model where it is a daunting task for the customer to pay? I can pay for my car insurance by sending in a check. I can pay my car insurance by calling them and giving them the number on my credit card or on my check. I can pay online. I could physically go to a location and pay cash or deliver a check or whatever, or swipe a credit card. I could, for my employment, well, this is quite new, but have the money deducted from my check. It's still something new, but it's something that's being worked on. So, because that's important, much like it's important for everybody in government to know not necessarily my interests and needs are, but what everybody's needs and interests are. And there's the ideological gap, so to speak, between the people and the culture of people who enter the positions of government. And I still have this very important question: why? I guess why philosophers are not in these positions. I don't understand. Is it just simply because the popular belief that a philosopher is a thinker and not a doer, and it's somehow not within the nature of philosophy to do anything? It's just to simply think. I guess it's reasonable if they're only thinking, because then it's easier for them to do that and to become experts at thinking. I don't know. It still seems a bit short-sighted, I think. Especially, I don't know. Maybe because they've just, in a way, they've poisoned themselves. Like I went to Barnes & Noble today, and half the books, I think I've said this before in an earlier video, half the books at Barnes & Noble's are not worthy to be books. They're just, I have no idea how, who, and how, and why these words that some people wrote were put on paper and printed, and people made investments on. And it makes me really shrug, given that you have so many people on the internet who do amazing, great things, and I would imagine writers as well, especially, but they don't have any books at Barnes & Noble. I just, I don't know. Like, there was this book I picked up. It was a poetry book, and I started to read some of the poetry, and I thought to myself, some of my poetry could be, if I spend enough time, better than what's written in that book. So, like, I examined the language that was used and the words. It wasn't all that crafted or sophisticated, so to speak. Because with poetry, you're crafting something. It's an expression, but it's masked. It's masked with there's subtle language. I don't know all the terminology. I just know about taking complicated feelings and making them simple for people to read, or for me to look at, or to compress it and to simplify it for it to make sense. I'm really proud of this purchase, and I'm proud of it for two reasons. That I might, well, this is a great book to have when you're in jail. That's one. I would think you can get a lot of reading done in jail. or you can at least. And it should be somehow encouraged or even forced upon people. I don't know. In life, government can't really infringe on you, but when you're in jail or prison, it can, to a certain degree. It could dictate your activities, how you spend your time. Ugh. Oh, but the girls I messaged are very interesting. One's a makeup artist. The other was, which is cool. I think that's pretty cool. Uh, the other is a teacher and a freelance graphic designer. And the other one, I don't know what she does, but it's also while browsing through the thing, through I guess the listings of the people, of the girls. I saw two or three that it said um, normal people only, or no creeps. And then I look at them and I kind of like, well, there's only so much that you can, mm, I guess, judge the person by um, from their profile and a few pictures. But I looked at their pictures and it was just all like these girls just bombarded with makeup and just I could smell the I don't know, it's just cynicism. I try to stay away from it, but I could smell their superficial lives, their empty, empty, empty lives with no character, no principle, no belief, just simply existence to consume. And I didn't message them, obviously, because it was a clear indication that we would have an immediate conflict of interest. But that's okay, and because even with all that, they make a contribution. And see, how do they make how do they make a contribution? Through buying things, through paying taxes, and through supporting businesses, the economy. Well, basically, everybody makes a contribution. It's just there are varying degrees of contribution, and I guess just the nature of contribution, because contribution is very vague. Or maybe I'm wrong about it all. They're not contributing at all. They're just sustaining. They're just sustaining the economy, sustaining the tax flow, the cash tax flow. Yeah, the tax cash flow. the business cash flow. And they're giving new businesses, they're giving new businesses uh, reason, motive to open up. They're giving reason to a non-profit organization that's going to attempt to reach out to them and say, hey, you're old enough, maybe you should not bombard yourself with makeup. Makeup is very bad for you. Yeah. Not to say that to be some sort of a totalitarian fascist. No, no, no. Um, but if you do things, it's a good idea to know why you're doing them. And just do them just because. Just because. It's kind of like another notion. I spent some time thinking about how in society people are using the word "it's fine," "it's okay" to quickly get themselves out of a situation they're not comfortable being in by just riding it out. That's another one. I'm just riding out the storm. Okay? I'm riding out the economy. Well, no, the economy is artificial. It's created. The storm is, you can't do anything about the storm. The economy, you can do actually something about the economy. Then what can you do? Well, go start a business. And that's the problem. Not enough leaders. That's the problem. Not enough competition. Um, I also had this idea today. For like maybe for some holiday where I should gift my mother. I should maybe create like a little presentation and teach her about a socialite. A person who, well, this is my imagination of it, a person who makes a living off being a social person. I guess who's a professional social person. Who is always surrounded by people and is always meeting new people, and just that's just their life. And you ask, how did they make their money off? I mean, how would they make money? Well, they would have a network of millions and millions of people that they would have met. That by meeting all these sorts of people, they could act as a mediator or an arbitrator for business, for sale of something, for advice, for consultation, for to advertise something, because there would be so many people that they would know that they could say, hey, instead of reading this book, read this book. And because this book paid that person, or in this case me, or that person, I get confused with how I was explaining the story. Um, they would pay that person to advertise, to go on a commercial, because then people are going to watch that commercial and they're going to say, oh, I know who that is. Sounds like a good idea. I trust that person, or I believe in the judgment of that person. And the idea with doing so would be to do it right, not just to do it all the time. Like every single product, you would just go on and sell yourself. Because when you attach yourself to products, what happens if that product is a bad product? Is that something you're willing to compromise on? Because now the people who are smart enough to see that that is a bad product are going to be like, hey, what are you doing? People are supposed to trust you, but you're making a bad choice and you're making a poor decision. Are you being greedy? What is it? What's happening? So I guess it could get to their head, so to speak. I don't know if I showed this, but in the mail I received an advertisement for somebody in my town who's running for the council, Lynn DeLucia. And what does it say here about her? What she wrote about her? That she wants to do some things, but that she studied philosophy. And there's some, I guess, slogans here. Change we can trust. Community values with a strong moral compass. Strong leadership, it's what our community needs. Trust in Lynn to work towards a fair and honest government for Cliffside Park. I see, this is where I have a question here. Trust in Lynn to work towards a fair and honest government for Cliffside Park, or of Cliffside Park. No, it's for Cliffside Park. Yeah. I wonder what she has to say about. I was thinking to maybe if I could see if I could interview her. I want to know what she has to say about this unique problem that our town has, which is that the mayor has been the mayor for his whole life. His son, his whole family is in government, in this government. So his whole family, in a way, controls the whole government. That makes me think of a monarchy. When a family controls government, that's a monarchy. It's just that, he's fairly old, so I wonder if they have a plan that for when his time comes to pass, that his son takes over and becomes the mayor. I requested voting records from the years of '93 to 2011. I haven't heard back in about a month. I have to go tomorrow to that. And I also did some, I found some places for an apartment. Um, I'm gonna visit, I'm gonna call the two people tomorrow, see the places. I'm a little more experienced in what I need to ask and what I need to ensure that the places, well, that I have the information I need to then come home and sleep on it and make a decision. At the same time, to properly talk to them when they ask me about me. I'm not used to uh, within a very short amount of time explaining something about myself to somebody. It's something I'm not something I'm working on. Obviously, I would need to do that. Uh, it's something I'm working on. Ugh. I think that's it. I'm kind of feeling sleepy. I think I've explained all my thoughts that I have. Smoke is going into my eye. You know, one other thing that concerns me about the guy that I met a while ago, that I was talking about, is he seems to be like a lone wolf, and a lone wolf is extraordinarily dangerous. Uh, even like even me, I guess. I'm kind of attempting to do something extraordinary by myself, really, um, but not really. And there's some danger with that because you don't have the insurance, I guess, for the person to have anything to lose. Because if they have people, then they have something to lose. And if they have something to lose, then in a way it's insurance. Um, kind of like I, f- well, I feel more comfortable being around people who have families, people who have their own business or their own self-employment. Um, because then they're in a way predictable, or they have something to look forward to, a positive thing. So they would not want to jeopardize that and do something negative. But a person who's alone, or like a lone wolf, doesn't really have anything to lose. And if they don't have anything to lose, then they could do anything. And there's a danger with that. And the people in our world collectively that go out and do all these terrible things, they're usually, well, Not usually, but the most dangerous ones are the ones that act out alone. Uh, because there's no prediction. It could be anybody. But if you have, let's say, even organized crime, it's predictable because there's a group of people. A group of people is predictable. One person is not predictable because there's so many people by themselves. We got our whole entire population of 330 million people. If you, no, bad analogy. I'm not very good at making analogies. I noticed that. I can't make analogies to, maybe because you're not supposed to. Maybe that's why I'm not good at it. I'm not very good at making analogies to prove a point. It's just something I'm used to, I guess, from TV. TV does that. In TV, there are a lot of analogies. Because it simplifies things and makes it easier to relate to something. But then I don't know, could it be considered a form of manipulation? No, some of the positive flags of this person that I met. Um, well, he speaks of home and making sure home is always safe and protected. But I don't know what his impression or what his idea of home actually is, because he made some he made a statement where doing something like this that I plan on doing, I have to be sure to myself that this is my home. I guess implying that the area and so forth. But you know, I consider everywhere on this everywhere to be home. I could go anywhere. I'm free. I can go everywhere because it's a possibility to be home, and everywhere should be safe and protected and have a prosperous economy and prosperous citizenry, and just everything should be moving towards the direction of better at all times, no matter where you are. So I cannot claim to myself that, or I refuse to actually make a claim like that, um, even though it might, I don't think it would upset anybody. It would at least just make people think. It would strike people to hear something like that, I think. Um, anyways, this was just a mix of thoughts that I had. I'm still trying to understand why it's, I mean, I don't think it's going to be overly, I mean, I hope I'm not seeing something here. It's, it seems too easy for me to get elected. And I don't know why it seems that way. It seems way too easy for me. There's absolutely no, because I have experience doing this in terms of going door to door. I don't see what the what rockets what why it may seem like rocket science for people to go door to door, systematically, methodically go door to door and gather and meet everybody. I don't see like the problem. Okay, yeah, not everybody's gonna be home. Okay, well you're gonna meet some of the people, and then you have to come back, and 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 eventually you will meet them. You just have to persist. I don't know. I just feel that that's very important, and that's one of the problems. So, anyways, 1 hour and 1 minute. Hopefully the sound came out fine. I made sure that the webcam was recording the sound. I'm gonna try to get some sleep. Adios.